Hello, this is Dr. Joe Ventura. I wanted to give you a brief tour of Anatomy World and the different things you can do with it. Now remember, in order to use Anatomy World, you have to download and install the Deep View browser plugin, which really controls and allows you to manipulate these 3D models in the 3D world. And remember, one of the amazing things about Anatomy World is that you are viewing and manipulating real 3D models. This isn't pretend 3D, this is the real thing, where you can take a model and actually rotate it in real time and zoom in and pan and do some other special things that we'll see in just a second. And at anytime you want to revert back to the original, simply click on this little house symbol, which is the home button, and you'll immediately come back to the home position for the model. There are a lot of special things that you can do here, and one of the special things is go into a full screen mode, and you do that by right clicking on your mouse, which opens up another menu, and you see one of the options is full screen. If you click on that, we now go into a higher resolution full screen mode that, depending on the size of your monitor, could make quite a nice picture. And one of the special features that you can do in Anatomy World is actually remove various parts for a closer examination of either that part or what's underneath it. For example, along the front edge of the vertebral column is the anterior longitudinal ligament. Now I can actually remove that by coming over here and clicking on the tool that says pull apart, and by clicking on that and then coming back over to the body part you want to manipulate, you click on it. You see on your screen that it's highlighted red. Now by holding down the left mouse button and dragging, I can actually pull that part away from the rest of the body, and I can either zoom in for a closer examination or I can of the part itself, or I can zoom into other areas for an examination. When I'm done, I can click on this part that says reassemble, and the part goes back. Now what I'm going to do is rotate this model . We're going to look at it from behind, and I'll show you some of the other special tools. Now the speed at which things happen will vary depending on the speed of your machine, and in particular the graphics card that actually allows you to view in real time these three-dimensional models. One thing I'm going to do is a very fast zoom feature by clicking on the zoom window button, and I'm going to draw an area that I want to zoom into. You see we've highlighted now the lower back with all the muscles, ligament attachments, nerves, and so forth. By clicking on the pull apart button, I can highlight the muscle. And by the way, if you want to know what anything's named in the world, come over in the upper right hand corner and click on the scene tree, and you see we've now dropped down several items that are in the scene that we're looking at, and the one that's highlighted is the one that's highlighted over here. So we see it's a gluteus medius, and we're going to pull that away to expose what's underneath. Now in this case my interest is in this structure, and by clicking on it and again coming back over to the scene tree, we see that it's the piriformis muscle. And why that's important is that the sciatic nerve, which we can see here, runs behind the piriformis. And as many of you know, if that piriformis muscle goes into a spasm, it can actually put pressure and cause pain down the back of the leg. So if you wanted to show a patient exactly what you're talking about, or if you wanted to refresh your own memory or do some staff training, you could highlight this muscle and actually pull it away to expose the nerves underneath. In effect, what we're doing here is a virtual dissection room in 3D that allows you to look at various layers and zoom in for closer examination. And when you're done looking at everything, you can reassemble it, and it's back to where it was. Another way to use the scene tree is to actually highlight an area, and it will show on the screen in red what you've just clicked on. It's a great way to do a muscle review, or really any kind of anatomy review. Let me show you again how some of these advanced tools work. First, we'll select an area to zoom in. Use the pan feature to bring this down a bit. Use the rotate feature to rotate the model. And again, this is real-time manipulation of the models here. Now, one of the things that we can do with that pull apart feature is to highlight an area, and you see when you click on an area, the area that you've selected will turn red, and you're able to pull it apart, move it out of the way. We'll do this with another area. And you see we've exposed the brain here. We can even highlight this side of the brain and pull it apart, exposing the inner part of the brain. And if we tilt this model just a little bit, we get a really nice look from above down at an anatomically precise model. Now, one of the cool things we can do, and maybe you've seen this in the Visible Human project, is to actually do slicing in a real 3D world. And we can do that by grabbing the slicing plane and moving downward, and watch it slice through various areas of the body. Now, this is actually slicing in the y-axis. We're going to switch this to the x-axis. We'll take a few seconds to reset. The time for things to happen on your computer will be considerably faster, because we're actually doing screen capturing here, which puts a drag on the computer's processor. So by moving this slicing plane, we can actually create very precise slicing through the model. Which again on your computer will be much smoother, because you won't be doing the screen capture recording. One of the very special things that you can do in AnatomyWorld, again by right-clicking on the screen, you can create the different ways you want to render. Right now we're in a solid mode, but we can go to something really cool like a solid outline or even a shaded illustration, which we'll select, and it will completely change what you see on the screen. One of the things that you can do in an AnatomyWorld is to actually send the scene that you have created to the printer to print a high-resolution copy of exactly what you see on the screen. And we can change the render mode, let's say, to a line illustration. And you see how it turns the picture into something that you might draw with a pen or pencil. and we'll go back into the render mode of a solid, and we're also going to click the Home button, which puts everything back together and brings us right back to our original scene with everything intact, ready to go. Now we've created over 100 worlds in AnatomyWorld for you to view and manipulate and learn and have fun with and teach your staff and your patients or your clients, or hopefully as a great educational tool to be able to view virtually everything in the human body from any angle in real-time 3D rendering. That concludes our demonstration of AnatomyWorld, and let us know if you have any questions. Thank you.